Tonight, a warning from Metrolinx after a close call on the train tracks.
So normally we can't release these close call videos because the people don't survive.
Now the kids here did survive, but just narrowly as a GO train comes rumbling towards them. Metrolinx releasing the video to warn people about the dangers of trespassing. Plus,
you feel dismissed. You feel that this is exactly what we are crying for, equity.
The Aurora Black Community Association is upset at the town's leadership after the town's mayor skipped a vigil held in honor of the victims of the Buffalo mass shooting. Plus,
I kind of have lost faith and the ability to trust this industry.
A Toronto plastic surgeon is no longer allowed to practice in Ontario for now after accusations of botched surgeries, malpractice, and disappearing with patients' money. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. We begin tonight with that shocking video of 3 kids who narrowly escaped being hit by a GO train while walking along the train tracks. And Metrolinx releasing the video as a warning about the dangers of trespassing on railway tracks, saying it happens often, sometimes with deadly consequences. Ali Chiasson has more.
Captured on the front camera of a moving GO train. You see on the bottom right of the screen one person on the adjacent tracks, then just ahead, 2 others running. One crosses to the other tracks, the other person throws themselves against the railing on the side, just narrowly escaping the moving train. It's all the more heart-stopping, knowing that this is along the Humber River Rail Bridge with about a 30-meter drop below.
Normally we can't release these close call videos because the people don't survive.
We should note that Anne-Marie Aikens of Metrolinx lost her voice today after doing so many interviews about this. She says they're determined to get the message out about the dangers of trespassing on train tracks. They don't know who these kids are, but
our appeal is to their parents, not to be punitive to these young kids, and to all parents to talk to their kids. And impress upon them just how terribly dangerous it is to walk on the tracks anytime.
Aiken says people often trespass on rail tracks, and it's an extremely dangerous problem. Unlike during the height of the pandemic when rail lines were less busy, trains are back up and running on their full schedules. It's reckless and dangerous to assume that you know when a train is coming, when so often it's too late and someone gets struck.
Because of the weight of the train, it took a kilometer to stop. You know, it just would have been tragedy.
The fact that there's a pedestrian bridge right there as well, puzzling.
I guess it's, I think it's thrill-seeking.
Thrill-seeking, a shortcut, whatever the reason, trespassing on train tracks can land you with a $5,000 fine. The ultimate penalty is paying with your life. Thankfully, these kids lived, and this video now serves as a lesson in the dangers of walking along train tracks.
So Metrolinx has no intention of fining these kids or their parents. This is all about just deterring people from ever trying to trespass along train tracks. And you would be surprised at how often this happens. People are actually spotted walking along that very rail corridor today. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
The Aurora Black Community Association was recognized with an award from the town tonight. But members of the group say the town's leadership needs to step up when it comes to diversity and inclusion, calling out the mayor for skipping a recent vigil held in honor of the victims of the Buffalo mass shooting. Dali Ashry has more.
Aurora's Black Community Association receiving the Inclusivity Award tonight, presented to them by Mayor Tom Marakis.
I am going in there with all joy and excitement. The entire team is excited to be acknowledged by the community.
Fiona Durant is the association's president. She said that it's a bittersweet evening for members of the Black community after feeling like they were let down 2 weeks ago. This is where the vigil was held?
Yeah, we thought it was appropriate because this is where, as the mayor opened the ceremony for Black history.
The association organized a vigil to honor 10 Black victims killed in the Buffalo mass shooting. But the day of the event, held right outside the mayor's doorstep, he was nowhere to be found.
When the community was shaken up and broken and just in solidarity for the lives that were taken in Buffalo, we thought this was a perfect place to come back.
And he didn't show up.
And he didn't show up. And like I said, not showing up and no acknowledgement, no regrets.
In a statement to CBC News, the mayor's office says Marakis was in a meeting that unfortunately could not be rescheduled, and that it's not a reflection on the priority or importance of any event to the town or to himself. 3 city councillors, including Sandra Humphreys, did attend.
I know for a fact our mayor and council, from my perspective and my personal view, are incredibly supportive and serious of anything that happens in our community, Black community. And for them not being here, I really truly believe they must have had other engagements that were unable to break.
The mayor was at a local hockey game the night of the vigil, which was posted on his Instagram account. But for some members of Aurora's Black Community Association, it goes beyond just missing the vigil. The point, to lack the acknowledgement and support from the mayor following the attacks.
Overwhelming support for the Ukrainian community over there on the other side. But there are issues here that need support, that need donations. How are you putting your money where your mouth is when you talk about equity and diversity and inclusion? To see the disregard that was that our own suffering was met with was really heartbreaking, to say the least.
The association says it wants to see better leadership.
Let's be more intentional. Let's not make excuses and then not say, I'm one person, I have a meeting. I'm really hoping to see them step it up. When our leaders set the tone, it encourages others to do the same.
The mayor issued his further statement saying this is the only invite from Aurora's Black Community Association that he has ever had to decline. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
We have a development tonight in a CBC News investigation. An Ontario plastic surgeon accused of malpractice and disappearing with patients' money cannot practice medicine in Ontario right now. Dr. Mahmoud Kara's license is temporarily suspended. While the surgeon did return some of the patient's money, he's now being accused of botching some of the surgeries that he performed. Angelina King first broke this story last October and brings us the latest tonight.
You can see like one is a totally different size than the other one.
It's been a few years since these photos were taken, but Amanda O'Brien still finds it difficult to look at her chest.
Oh my goodness, it looks so terrible.
In 2019, O'Brien underwent what she thought would be a relatively straightforward procedure with Dr. Mahmoud Kara, a breast lift with her existing implants intact. Now, O'Brien is the representative plaintiff in a $6 million proposed class action lawsuit against Kara. O'Brien ultimately had 5 surgeries in a year and claims she was left with an infection, a deformed breast, scarring, the removal of her existing implants, and a botched breast lift that cost about $17,000.
That entire experience had a significant impact on my life.
The lawsuit states Kara had a callous disregard for patient safety and that he used implants that were not the size that patients had agreed to and paid for.
The level that we've seen here and the number of women who affected certainly suggests something was not being done properly.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Kara.
Ontario's regulatory body temporarily suspended Kara's medical license while investigating complaints against him. The claims haven't been tested in court and the lawsuit has yet to be certified as a class action. Kara's lawyer says his client denies all allegations of negligence, breach of duty, and misconduct. Kara is the subject of another lawsuit that claims he took patient deposit money, then seemingly disappeared, accusation CBC News reported on last fall. He since paid some patients back, like Debbie Laurie.
Now I'm scared to even try again.
O'Brien feels the same.
Yeah, I kind of have lost faith and the ability to trust this industry.
She's been too afraid to look into whether her scarring can one day be fixed. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Yeah. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, it was a hot and sticky one out there today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when we haven't seen temperatures like this into the 30s since the end of August last year, at least at Pearson, sometimes we need a little bit of a reminder about how to conduct ourselves with this kind of weather. So special weather statement in place. And in fact, for southwestern Ontario, a heat warning. Just that reminder that, you know, limit your time in the sun, maybe exercise early or late, frequent breaks, try and get shade, and lots of liquids, lots of water to stay hydrated in there. The way the temperatures were running, so this was at 7 a.m. and look at some of these almost to 20 degrees, Chatham-Kenton for Windsor as well. By lunchtime, all these readings, now Kingston, it's near the lake right there, right? With the airport, and the breeze off the lake seemed cooler. But still, that's where we ended up by the time we got into the late afternoon. So overnight tonight, 20 degrees. The temperature just doesn't fall off that much when we have this kind of humidity. At least 31 tomorrow for that daytime high, but feeling like the upper 30s. I'll let you know when the relief is coming up.
Thanks so much, Colette. Just days to go until Thursday's provincial election, and more than 1 million Ontarians have already cast their ballot. Advance polls closed over the weekend. According to Elections Canada, nearly 10% of eligible voters cast their ballots early, and they had more days to do it this year. Advance polling was expanded to 10 days from 5 in 2018. And on the campaign trail today, Doug Ford made his first trip to Ottawa. Ford has been to the city only once since the convoy occupation this past winter. As Joanne Chianello reports, today's stop was a low-key affair for the PC leader.
Today, I'm here to announce that a re-elected PC government will expand Highway 417 right behind me.
For Ottawa, there are no PC rallies, no door-knocking with the leader, no photo ops with all the city's candidates. Instead, Doug Ford spoke with reporters this morning from the rooftop of a building overlooking a highway he's promising to widen. Only the local riding candidate stood by his side, Jeremy Roberts, who later refused to speak with local media. Despite being Ontario's second largest city, this is Ford's first campaign stop in Ottawa, just 3 days before the election. It was a quick and low-key visit. Local candidates who've served in his cabinet, Lisa MacLeod, Mary Lee Fullerton, were nowhere to be seen. Ford has been criticized for not coming to Ottawa during the trucking protests in February. He only visited Ottawa in late March to make a pre-election funding announcement on the Ottawa Hospital. He was supposed to come to Ottawa last Thursday after the devastating storms of 9 days ago. But Ford put it off, saying he wanted the local focus to be on the recovery, even though city officials said there was no practical reason for him to stay away. And even though Ford went to Uxbridge the day after the storm to witness the damage there. When asked where he's been, Ford says he's been helping, not posing for the media.
I was on the phone every single day, making sure we got the resources here. I'm not here to do a photo op like maybe other politicians were. I was boots on the ground, making sure we had the resources in here.
But on this trip, Ford didn't visit any victims of the storm damage. Instead, he met briefly with firefighters for, well, a photo op. Something NDP leader Andrea Horwath was quick to point out.
Doug Ford hasn't been there for Ottawans, and I think the people of Ottawa know that very clearly.
Horwath plans to be in Ottawa tonight to hold her own event at a West End ice cream shop. Joanne Chianello, CBC News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca started his day in Toronto in the riding of Don Valley West, making a pitch to voters to choose the Liberals as the alternative to Doug Ford and not the NDP. During his visit, Del Duca focuses on his party's promises when it comes to education.
We're also committed to capping class sizes at 20, a hard cap for both elementary and secondary. We're talking about bringing back and will bring back an optional grade 13.
The Liberals are promising to spend $10 billion on education after scrapping Highway 413. And Green Party leader Mike Schreiner also started his day in Toronto, making a stop in the riding of Beach's East York. He was promoting his party's climate plan, kicking off what he called the final charge of his homestretch tour across the province in his green electric vehicle. Welcome back. The federal government introduced new firearms legislation today, one that it describes as a milestone in the effort to curb gun violence. The bill stops short of banning handguns, but freezes their purchase, sale, or import. Julia Wong has the details.
The federal government rolled out gun legislation today, with the federal Liberals saying this is some of the strongest gun control measures in more than a generation. Now, the legislation would fight gun smuggling and trafficking by increasing penalties and having stronger border measures. It would create a red flag law, so individuals considered a danger to themselves and others are court-ordered to surrender their firearms to police. And in a major move, there would be a national freeze in buying, selling, and transferring handguns within Canada, effectively freezing freezing gun ownership in the country as it stands right now.
We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. In other words, we're capping the market for handguns.
There's no firm timeline on when these changes will take effect, but the federal government says they're hoping it happens as soon as possible. Julia Wong, CBC News, Ottawa.
And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mainly clear tonight after a scorcher of a day. Currently still 25 degrees and feeling closer to 30. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your full forecast. And Colette, the hot, sticky weather sticking around for a couple more days before we get some relief.
Yeah, that's right, because we have today and tomorrow to get through and then kind of a transition day coming. Again, like I was showing earlier in the show, we have special weather statements, Toronto included in this, heat warning, Windsor included in that for southwestern Ontario. Hazy tomorrow, sunshine, but that hazy sky because of that humidity. We'll see Tuesday night into Wednesday as the cold front approaches, which is going to eventually change over our weather pattern. Along that, we may see not only some scattered thunderstorms in the overnight, but coming back on Wednesday, but the risk of some severe weather in there too, so some stronger storms. So we'll keep an eye on that and give you more on that in tomorrow night's show. Comfortable temps by Thursday, and meaning the dew points dropping, so not feeling as humid as well. Looking at the clear skies, the sunshine, again, it can have kind of that milky appearance to it in the sky. Now, late Tuesday, we'll start to see things bubbling up a little bit. I think mostly it's going to be after midnight that we'll get more widespread showers and thunderstorms. Wednesday morning, the morning commute, again, it's somewhat isolated, but where you have these, they can be some very heavy downpours that risk all along the north shore of Lake Ontario into the afternoon hours, extending back through the Golden Horseshoe and then through the Niagara region as the day wears on Wednesday. Behind that, we do get into some clearing, and we do see some of that improvement for those that just can't really handle this kind of stickiness. Some gusty winds tonight through southwestern Ontario, and then those will calm down somewhat anyway, but still kind of seeing that southerly flow, and that's why it's a little cooler anytime you're closer to the north shore of Lake Erie or Lake Ontario. Overnight tonight, those temperatures that just don't fall that far, in many cases, most, in fact, not even getting into the teens. We will find a few more of those like Oshawa, Markham, and St. Catharines overnight tonight. And then here we go, 31 to 32, as I've been saying for tomorrow, but the humidex feeling 37 to 38, in some cases as much as 40. So got another day to go for this. Wednesday, that transition, so the temperature kind of transitioning, and then it will fall off. A cooler start on Thursday and cooler and more comfortable. And pardon me, that is not 30 for Friday. That's a 21 there as well.
All right, thanks so much, Colette.
CBC News has all the coverage you need for the Ontario provincial election. We've been on the campaign trail with the four party leaders vying to become the 43rd Premier of Ontario. Tune in on election night for a CBC News special hosted by Dwight Drummond and Vashi Capellos, with in-depth analysis from Eric Grenier and Mike Crawley. Ontario Votes 2022. Coverage starts Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBC and CBC News Network.
Well, finally tonight, spending a night behind bars doesn't really scream home sweet home. But for one family in Port Hope, it did. The family of 8 purchased the town's old police station a few years ago and decided to live in it. But soon it'll be up for sale. Talia Ricci takes us along for a tour.
So we're going to take you on a little home tour in Port Hope today, but this isn't exactly your average house tour. Tell us why that is.
Oh, because this was my wife's idea. We bought the town's old police station and decided to move in. This building is 6,000 square feet, so it is 3 times the size of our last place.
Wow.
These are the mailboxes of the original police officers. We just left them there. Most of those officers are still working for our town, so they're still here.
further down there's some evidence ones and stuff, and one of them was locked and it said DNA, and the kids were playing around one day and they were just fishing in there and they found some DNA package still sealed in there. We had to call the police and be like,
Yeah, they came and picked it up right away. So we're looking at that vault. That vault was the evidence room. The combination, by the way, is extremely difficult to get. It takes me several tries each time, and the only people who know it, as far as we know, are us and the police chief. Oh man, it's such a heavy door.
And how much did this room come in handy during the pandemic?
So much. It was a great place to send the kids to burn off steam. They'd come here and play, and not only that, but because it's on the other side from where the living stuff is, we didn't have to hear them.
Did you end up often being the hosting house?
Yeah, but we had the room, and that's something we really wanted for our kids growing up. I always wanted to be the house that the kids came to hang out at, so.
For me, growing up, I always saw the police station like it was on my bus route, and I always see like, oh, there's policemen in there, you know, and I was really young. And I always wondered what was going on in it, and I never thought I'd be living in it.
This was the police chief's office, and now it's our bedroom. It is the biggest room in the house.
What were some of your favorite memories living in this house?
I loved watching movies in this room. The sound is really good. The screen is huge.
Should we head down to the cells?
Sounds great. My first reaction was, we need to bleach every square inch of that room. And we did.
Which you did.
This is the first place everybody comes and takes pictures, every single one of them.
So soon this won't be your home anymore. What would your message be to the next owners if someone does decide to make it a home?
A message to the next owner, oh, take care of it. Enjoy it, because you won't have it forever. And wow, it's so much fun to have such a great space to play in.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Port Hope.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can get caught up anytime. Just head to cbc.ca/Toronto. Chris Glover has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Have a great night, everyone.